Welcome to another live session. This is Ivan Orvik. I'm your host. So I'm from Eagle One Industries. Eagle One Industries by day, Earthworks Hub by night. I have to apologise in advance for this big cut on my nose here. I didn't get into a scuffle. I probably could make a nice story. Had a big fight, won the fight and all that stuff. But I didn't, unfortunately. It wasn't that good of a story. What it is, I was wrestling with my son this morning and we got a bit carried away, and then as he went to go and leap forward, I went to leap forward at him, he leaped at me and his nail scraped my whole nose. So like I said, I could have made it into a really good story, but I'll just tell you honestly, yes, that's all that happened. All right, so thanks for joining, guys. Once again, I love these. How you going, Bobcat King? Thanks for joining. I love these live sessions because it's live. We get to share things and talk, I suppose live and up front. So I've been doing a lot of live sessions during the week as well. So while I'm operating, I usually put the camera on and do some lives. So it's good to see a lot of people joining in during the week. But then this is a good one on Sunday afternoons. Like I always say, we can sit back, relax, have a bit of a drink, and we can share some information before we start our work week again. So as usual, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all my sponsors. So Network Finance, the Bole Group, Melbourne Tractors, Spartan Machinery, Nexgen Landscapes, JR Safety Co. So thank you very much to all my sponsors. It means a lot to me having you guys sponsoring me, and funding. All that funding sort of helps me get all this equipment, and I plan to get a lot more. So looking for some more sponsors. It also helps me with, I suppose, covering some of the costs with me, taking time off work and that to go and do reviews and things like that. So anything helps. So thank you very much. All right. So on today's session, I won't be having anyone join as a guest. So it's just our regular live. I did go on live on Friday night. It was just an ad hoc live session, and I opened up and let everyone come on. Anyone that wanted to have a chat, come aboard. So I had some people co-host with me, and it was actually good. It was good to talk to people, and I actually got to meet a couple of nice guys. So thank you so much to everyone that came on Friday. That was just an ad hoc one, and I'll probably do those every now and then. So I'm keen to do a few more like that. So project updates. So Project Spalding. So my warehouse, that is still going ahead. Very, very good news. All the concrete panels are complete. So all the tilt-up panels are all complete. The boom lift trucks came in on Friday, so they've got that. They've got a crane coming on Monday, so tomorrow, that is. We've got a crane coming, and they're going to start lifting all the panels. So I'm really, really looking forward to that. That'll be a big milestone. I always said I wanted to get it to sort of lock-up stage or have a roof over it, and I'd be happy to get to that point, and I'm here. I'm nearly there. So, the walls are going up. It'll be very interesting. I am charging my drone as we speak, so I will be giving you some good footage of those panels going up. So hopefully you guys are happy with all the content I've been putting out. So whenever I'm working on projects or even my own stuff, I'm trying to give as much footage as I can. I've been still working in this basement that I've been on for the last couple of weeks. So at the moment, we're doing some plumbing at the bottom of that. Thank you for your likes, guys. So we're up to the plumbing stage. So all the walls have been shotcreted. We've got all the plumbing now, not complete, but almost complete. So we're trying to do the basement in segments. So now we've sort of split it up into different parts. So we want to get all the plumbing and that done in the main part of the basement, and then all the front part where the ramp is and the lift shaft and that, we'll do that afterwards. So hopefully you guys have been following my journey through this basement job. The ground is so solid. It's absolutely testing. I'll tell you what, it's like that really shaly clay mudstone, very, very solid. I've been using the 14-ton case on there, and even that is struggling to get through the material. So we can't really put anything bigger in there because it's just not going to fit. So the 14-ton, it's working, but I'm having to use the ripper. We're not using the hammer. Customer doesn't want to use the hammer anymore, so I'm just ripping away and trying to use the tiger teeth and we're managing, but yeah, it's just a very, very tough ground and a bit tedious trying to break through. So yeah, the plumbing's still going, so you'll have some more footage of that coming up during the week. So we did the sewer, the stormwater is nearly finished, and then we're going to start putting sand and getting the slab ready. So that is that. What else was there? That's the current job. So the posts throughout the week, I put a few posts out, and one of them was tilt bucket versus tilt hitch. So that actually came about in last week's live, and so from there I actually put a post out to see what everyone thinks. And I tell you what, they got a fair few comments there, so it's good to open up a bit of discussion about that. I think the tilting hitch won by far. However, I have to admit both accessories have got, or both attachments have got their different positives and negatives, but I think a lot more people went for or voted for the tilting hitch as opposed to the tilt bucket. And they've all got their own things. Oh, Bobcat King is saying the new series, New Holland excavators just got released and they look pretty good too. So that's good, man. It'd be really, really good to maybe go and do a bit of a review on one of those. Okay, so, and Darren's saying you need a tilt rotator. That is also another good discussion that we started having, but it just happened to be that it's probably the most expensive option, and we sort of figured that not many customers will probably want to pay that extra, but that's that. So the current posts, what else did we post? Let me check my notes here. I also posted that we reached 300 YouTube subscribers. So it's funny because I've got thousands on Instagram and TikTok, but only a couple hundred or a few hundred on YouTube. So it seems to be like a lot slower process. But we got to 300. I want to get to 500. So guys, if you're not subscribed on YouTube, make sure you go to my YouTube channel, Earthworks Hub. Go and subscribe and like and put the little alarm thing, notification alarm on, so that you can see when I put new videos up. So those videos on YouTube are all longer versions of everything that I post up on Insta and TikTok. So if you want to see the full versions, go on there. So we reached 300, so I'm happy we reached that. I put one up about my attendance for the Command demo day. So Command provide GPS or machine control, and they use the Uni control system. So I went out there and had a bit of a look, had a bit of a play on one of their little 1.7s, so the 1.7 Cabalco, and it was good. They showed me how it works, so I posted that up, and I've actually got a full video there as well on me playing around with that machine, so you can see that on YouTube as well. And Bobcat King is just saying, further to the New Holland comment, they now got a 6-ton and a 6.5 and 7-ton. Well, there you go. All right, so he's talking about the New Holland machines. And also I released another podcast with Jack Healy from Echuca, Moama, Bobcat and Excavator Hire. So hopefully you guys got to listen to that. So that's on Spotify, YouTube and Apple Podcasts. So Darren has a question here. What do you think about Ollie and his 8-tonner and posi track? So Darren's asking about Ollie. So he's talking about Ollie Earthbull. Yeah, I think he's all right. I had him on as a guest. He was one of my first couple of guests actually. So I haven't actually spoken to him much lately, but yeah, I think he's doing all right. And now he's actually got the Command. I think Command have actually put a Uni control system on his machine. So I've seen a few posts on that. So it'd be interesting to see how he's going with it. Yeah. So I haven't actually spoken to him much lately. I was actually going to attend the installation of that on his machine, but I didn't get a chance. So no, I mean, hopefully it's going well. He's using it. I've seen it on his posts. So that is that. And also, sorry, going on back onto Project Spalding, just looking at my notes here. The temporary power has been booked and will be done as well. So I've been battling to get temporary power to the site, so all the trades have got something, and we finally have approval or notification that it will be happening within the next 15 days, as I always say. That is that for the formalities. So, as usual, I do talk about a topic. So I've got a topic to talk about now, and then I'll open it up to you guys for more questions. So like I said, we're usually here for about an hour. So I'll try and go through this as quick as I can so we have a good chance to talk about other topics or your questions. So bear with me. So a question that I often get, very often, is how to start in our industry. How do you start out to be an operator? How do you start out to open a business in Earthworks? And I've done a podcast on how I started, but I thought maybe I'll just go and share a couple of stories about how and why I started my business in Earthworks. So that way you guys can hear from, I suppose, the horse's mouth how it happened and why I did it. So you may already know, initially I had nothing to do with Earthworks. I went to uni, did a business management degree, went and joined a company straight out of uni and started as a warehouse supervisor or warehouse clerk, then went to become a warehouse supervisor, stayed within that company for 11 years and worked my way all the way up to a production manager role. So it was a senior position. I was on really good money, but it was a set salary. So, I didn't have the opportunity to make any sort of extra. We didn't get paid for overtime or anything like that. We did have some bonuses, but sometimes they were like unachievable bonuses. So that's what I was doing. And while I was doing that, I always thrived to have like my own business. That's what I always wanted to work for myself. And over those 11 years, I actually trialed a couple of different businesses, but still kept my job, to have that base salary. And I was always scared to leave unless I had a really good business idea. And I had business ideas. So I tried to look into starting a car wash or a car wash cafe. I looked at drive-through coffee places. So I remember I went years ago to Perth for something. This is like 15 years ago. I went to Perth and then saw Muzzbuzz. I don't know if you guys ever seen Muzzbuzz. Does anyone know that? So Muzzbuzz was one of the first sort of drive-through coffee places I saw in Perth. And I said, we need this in Melbourne. This would be amazing. And then when I came back to Melbourne, I said, I'm going to start one of those, and looked into the franchises, this and that. And then after doing all this research, never did it. Then I was going to start like a car accessory installing business. Then I was going to start a beauty salon for my wife. So we started a bit of that on the side. But nothing really sort of was good enough to say to me, you know what, Lee, you can start doing that and leave the job that you're in. So I had a good job, well paid. But what I did notice is that a lot of my relatives were in Earthworks. And often we'd get to parties and they'd be talking about their experiences, what they do. I'd constantly see them like having cash in their hand from all their cashies that they used to do. They always drove nice new utes. Because they'd always be turning them over for, business purposes. I'd always see like they'd have like, drinks and stuff with some of the other guys that they worked with. They'd finish early on a lot of days. And I'd be like constantly just working 12, 14, 16-hour days, stuck in like one factory, going from state to state to build other factories and warehouses. And I was like, imagine if I did put this much effort into my own business. Like if I was putting in so much effort in running this business for someone else, why couldn't I start something on my own? So I did. I spoke to some of my relatives and said, listen, can I come out with you guys on the weekend and just see how it works? So I started spending a bit more time with them and watching what they do, hanging around, holding the dumpy for them, so when I'm, they're looking for levels, I'd be standing there doing it. And I'd be doing it all for free, just going with them on the weekends. So I still kept my job. And then they started saying, well, why don't you come along on Saturdays and just sit in our machines whenever we work? So what I did was slowly went on a Saturday, just watch what they were doing. So one of them had a 5-tonner, so I'd go with him and I'd help him unload the 5-tonner from the truck, and then I'd help him like move stuff, and then I'd sit in the machine slowly. Then I'd be like loading the truck while he was doing other things, and then one thing led to another. Then I'd be sitting in the machine and loading the truck. Then I'd be digging a little bit, moving concrete, lifting concrete out. So slowly, I got that experience. And then I also got a chance to sit in their 20-tonners. So on Saturdays, they'd be mainly loading trucks with rocks or soil on civil sites. And they'd say to me, like, just come in on the Saturday and sit in the 20 tonner and just load. It's not that hard. You already know how to use the 5 tonner and that, so just jump in. And I remember I used to go into their civil sites, and the truck drivers used to hate it when they saw me loading, because they used to come out and say, you can put the material in, without dropping it from a mile away. And they used to come out and complain because I'm dropping rocks from so high up. Or I'd be rocking their trucks when I'm putting dirt in there, or hitting the back of their tailgates. So it was a bit hard at the start, but I got better, and it just kept getting better and better. And then I thought, you know what? If I can make some good money with this, then maybe I can just put an operator in the machine and just get one and just put an operator in there, keep doing what I'm doing, and just have that as a bit of a side business, yeah? So what I did was went out and bought a 20-ton excavator. So I thought, I'll get a 20-tonner, I can put it into a civil site, I'll find an operator, he can sit in there while I'm still working here, and then if worse comes to worse, I can sort of just jump in there and help out. So I remember one of the first jobs I got when I got my 20 was with a plant hire company, and they put me out onto a really big civil company here in Australia, in Victoria, and it was on a subdivision, and they put my operator out. So I had an operator that I borrowed from someone. They put him out loading trucks, and he was doing really well. So he was there for a few days, and then he said he had to go back to where he was working originally, so I'd have to jump in. So I took a few days off work, told him I was sick, and went in there and started loading trucks, and I found straight away I was just too slow. And because he'd already set the bar, they expected me to be like him, and because I was still pretty fresh, and they gave me like 13 truck and trailers to load on this huge stockpile. It was wet, all wet material. They wanted me to climb up on top of the windrow, which was very, very soft. So my machine kept sinking. I couldn't load the trucks in time. They were all getting frustrated. And then they sort of put up with it for the day. And then the next day, the same thing happened. And then all the truck drivers cracked the shits. So they called the plant hire company. Plant hire company called the civil company. And they basically said, no, you're too slow. We're going to have to put you on another project. So they moved me. So I got moved to another project. On that one, they wanted me to do road boxing. And I hadn't never boxed roads in my life. So I tried to bluff my way through it. And then they said that I think they noticed that I wasn't that good. So then they put me into a man-made lake that they'd already started digging, and it was full of water. And I had to go into that man-made lake with my 20-tonner and just pull out sludge that had fallen in there and try and like deepen the lake a little bit. But what happened was my 20-tonner went in, and I got water up to the cabin, and my machine got stuck in the sludge. And they needed one dozer to come down and start pulling me out. Then the dozer got stuck, so they called a second dozer to pull him. So he was getting pulled out by a dozer, and then that second dozer was pulling me out. It was a schmozzle, absolute schmozzle. So they had a chat to me and said, look, you know what, we're going to send you somewhere else. You can't do what we need you to do. So they sent me to another subdivision, and they just had me loading trucks. And what happened was my swing motor, basically the cogs or the teeth all broke, because what happened was when my 20-tonner was in that man-made lake and the water raised up to the cabin, it actually washed all the grease bath out and cleaned all the grease out of the actual the slew, like out of the slew motor or the swing motor, and it was dry. So as I was loading trucks and turning and that, I started hearing this bit of a crunching noise, a bit of a funny sound, and before you knew it, I heard of a huge crack or a big bang, and my machine just loosely was swiveling. So the 20-tonner, I broke the swing motor in it, or the swing gears. Yeah, swing gears actually broke, and that was it. That was the end of my 20-tonner for that job. So it took 2 weeks to get that thing going. It cost me 10 grand to get that swing motor rebuilt and all the swing gears put in. New swing gears, and then they told me they had no work for me. So I remember that was so devastating. I actually said to my wife, like, what have I done? I think I made a big mistake here. So they moved me to another job to try and help me, and they put me on a brand new road that they were building, and I was loading. They gave me like 10 tandems to load, and they wanted me to do this huge run that what they did was, it was a road that they built. So they built a main road, but it sunk in a lot of spots. So they stuffed something up and they had to pull all the road back up again, take all the soft spots out, redig it all, and then relay the whole thing. So they were already like on a big time loss, losing money on these projects. So they put me on there to redig it all, and I had no idea what I was doing. So I'll be honest, I was trying my best. And then they gave me all these tandems to load. So I thought I was doing really well, but they told me I was way too slow, kicked me off that job as well. So then that was it. That was the last straw for that civil company. They said, well, look, we can't use you anymore. That's it. You're done. You're finished with us. So what I did, I went through and kept looking for work. Basically, from there, I ended up hiring a guy. So I finally found somebody that used to have his own business and then decided to slow it down and just work for other people. And luckily, he was very experienced, came and jumped in, and he actually helped me a lot. So the good thing was that then I started doing my own little projects, working for builders, doing site cuts, doing the occasional plant hire jobs. And it was a good opportunity for me to stand and watch him work. Also, to hold the dumpy for him, check levels, and at the same time see and watch what he was doing. And that's how I learned. Then I'd swap with him sometimes. He'd jump out, I'd jump in, and slowly just got better and better. And then after he left, I actually got a job with my 20-tonner in a quarry, and the guy there was amazing, gave me a really good opportunity and let me keep working in the 20-tonner there, even knowing that I wasn't that experienced. He just let me keep going. All I was doing was sifting material, loading trucks, doing like basic stuff, and that helped me build my skills up. So then after that, it was okay. After that, I got better and better, and then it just went better from there. But that is how and why I started. Originally, it was because I wanted to do my own thing, run my own show, and I enjoyed excavating. I looked at what my relatives were doing, and I thought, that's what I want to try. I want to try that. I want to be outside, not stuck in this factory, coming in at the same time every day, living at night, doing work at home on the computer later, talking to America at 12 o'clock at night, talking about why something happened at work in the factory, and then getting up at 5 again in the morning to go and open the factory again. It was just, I don't know, it just wasn't for me anymore. So that's a quick answer, I suppose, to why I started and how I started to start and some of the struggles I had. So a lot of people can learn from that, because a lot of people probably think, I can just get in the machine and start working. People will notice immediately that you're not that experienced. So I don't know whether it's good to tell someone straight away that you're not 100%, because then they've automatically got this doubt about you. But because on the other alternative is just bluff your way through and see how you go. And I've had operators come and work for me and tell me that they're really good and experienced, and then I've noticed within a few hours that they're not at that level that they say they are. So, and the customers will see that. So, and then I've had guys come and tell me straight up, like, I've only done so many hours in the machine, can you give me a chance? So that is I suppose how I started. So I don't know if anyone's got any comments on how they started, or if you want to give some stories as well. So I'm open to that, guys. So you guys can now start with your questions. While we're waiting for questions, I can still give you a couple of stories if you're happy with that. Do you guys want to hear more stories? I can tell you some more. So also, actually, I forgot it. Darren saying, yeah, that's good. Thanks. So I'm not boring everyone. I also got some work at the start with my 20-tonner doing tram works. So, putting in new tram, breaking out old tram lines and putting new ones in. So they always do that over a weekend, doing like 24-hour shifts. So I hired a guy that, that's right. Yeah, stories are great learning tools. Very good, Daniel. Yeah, so I hired a guy that somebody recommended and said, like, this guy's really experienced. He'll be really good for your company. So I hired this guy, and his first job was going on these tram works, and I've never done tram work, so I sort of relied on him. And he said that he's done that before. We got there. I just went in there to make sure he was all set up, ready to go. Everyone's hammering, everyone's working. And I thought I'll hang around for a little bit just to make sure he's all right. And I noticed that every half an hour he'd be missing. And what happened was you'd have like rows of 20-ton machines. So we're all lined up, so 20 meters apart or 15 meters apart. And then everyone's sort of working, hammering, working backwards. And everyone's moving together at the same pace. So as soon as someone starts slowing down, the other one in front of him starts catching him, and it's noticeable. Yeah, so that's what they were noticing, that my operator's constantly missing. He kept going to the toilet all the time. Then he'd be out there just eating without even like saying anything. He'd just get out and start eating, and in the meantime they're falling behind. So they were cracking it a bit, and I told him, look, you can't just keep doing that. Get back in the machine, keep going. Then I tried to jump in and help a little bit. And then that went on for the whole shift. Then it was my turn, so I took over after the 12 hours. And then the hose burst. So my hammer hose burst because the way he was doing it, the way he held the hammer, the hoses were getting pinched. So the hoses burst, and then I had to get someone out in the middle of the night to come and fix the hoses. So, that's another chaotic story. We got through it, but in the end I had to let him go because it kept happening. And there was a range of other things too, but I had to let him go. What else was there? I can tell you another story. When I first started as well, I didn't understand. Oh, hang on. I'll get to that. So Darren's asking, how did you go with the financial funds? I'll tell you right now. Actually, I'll just I'll go straight to your question. Yeah. So Darren, with the financial funds, that was one of the reasons that I had to keep my current job. So I couldn't afford to just leave my job and go straight into running my own machine because I didn't have enough contacts in the industry. Like all my relatives were working in that, but they also worked for civil companies and through plant hires. So it wasn't easy for them to just tell the plant hire, like, oh, you got to put my cousin on, like it doesn't work like that. So you have to prove yourself. So, and they did. Admittedly, they tried to help me and get me in places. But financially, I had to keep my job. And with my job, what I did was for my first machine, I got a line of credit against my home loan. So against my house, they gave me the equity from the house to be able to go and buy a machine. So because I had no financials, because they usually want like 2 years worth of financials, I had no set contracts. I had to go to the bank and tell them that I need to borrow some of the equity from the home. And that's what I used to buy my first machine. And then what I did was I thought I'll put somebody on so I can keep working at my job, and that person could be making me some money until I work out what I'm going to do, whether that machine is going to start getting some more work, and slowly I can jump in there when he's not there. And then eventually, if he ever left, I'd just jump in. And that's how I sort of worked it out. So it was difficult at the start. And then, there was a lot of weeks where I didn't have work for it and I still had to pay my operators. So, there were times where I had to keep dipping into that line of credit. And there was a few times where when I had a lot of guys working for me, I had to dip into the home loan to be able to pay them because I never wanted to be that boss that says, I can't pay you this week. Because a lot of my operators used to come to me and say, oh man, I left my old company because the boss kept saying I can't pay you this week. And I can't pay you next week, and I'll make it up to you in a few weeks. And they used to hate that. And I used to say, I don't want to be one of those guys. And I'd feel bad to say, look, I can't pay you this week. And because I was on like 30-day payments, 60-day payments, but I had to pay my workers every week, sometimes I knew I had money coming in, but I just didn't have it at that moment. So I'd have to dip into the home loan, pay them, and then wait till I got paid to pay all that back, and then hopefully get back in front again. And I think a lot of guys or a lot of people that have a business will understand that. And it's a dangerous game because if you just keep using your equity or borrowing money all the time, you can very, very easily go under and go backwards. So you've got to make sure you know what you took out, put it all back in. So that, just to answer your question, that is how I survived at the start. That's good. So he's happy with that. That is how I survived. And And then slowly, yeah, like I said, slowly, I got more jobs for the machine. Then I ended up buying a small machine, so I could be in that while my operator is in the big one. And then customers or builders were giving us more work. So Daniel is saying it's a monthly struggle waiting for money. Weekly subby payments should be a norm. I think you are right. One of my gripes with this industry is how the subbies get used as a bank. And I had this discussion with someone recently. I think it was Jimmy Starbuck. We were talking about how we get used as banks. So builders and big civil companies and that will put us on like 60-day or 45-day payments. So we've got to wait all that time for that money. And in the meantime, they're working and going ahead and doing whatever they need to do. And I do understand why that happens. I understand. And then some of them say that they put us on long-term payments in case they realize we've damaged something. They can back charge us before they pay, or they say that they need to rely on us for that. They won't have enough to continue if they didn't put us on payment plans. But if you go to any store to buy something, you can't walk out of a store and say, "Oh, I'll just pay you in 40 days." You go to Kmart or to a service station or something and say, fill up petrol and say, "Oh, I'll just pay you next week, man," or "I'll pay you in 60 days." They're not going to allow that, and then a plumber comes to your house to fix a broken pipe. He's not going to say to you, "Oh, just pay me in 60 days." He's going to expect to be paid on the day. So that's one thing that really gets to me. Yeah, like, why do we have to wait so long for our payments? And then the worst thing is that, when it comes time to pay, they can't even pay. So I've had a few of those situations. Not many, luckily, but it's like if you haven't got your stuff together by 30 or 45 days, like how are you running your business? This is the customers I'm talking about. So yes, I really don't think subbies should be on more than 7-day or 14-day max payment. So and then what happens is it's a snowball. So then you look for mechanics, that will put you on longer terms payments. Then you look for guys that sell parts on longer term payments so that you can keep cash flow. But it's very hard to keep cash flow when you're constantly putting out money but not getting anything back. Sorry, I just hit the microphone then. All right, so hopefully, we've answered that question. While we're waiting for more questions, I can give you another story. Yeah, the one I was starting a bit earlier. When I first started as well, I worked for a plant hire company. I didn't fully understand how the process worked. So I knew I got work through a plant hire company. They sent me to a job, and then they got... I was on my 20-tonner. We were doing a new construction building, and they needed footings dug out. So I dug that out. I actually recall they asked me after I dug all the footings out, they said, "Oh, now we're going to do sand on all the pads." And I was like, how am I going to get across this from where I am all the way to that first pad without breaking everything and ruining all the trenches I just did? And they're like, "Oh, just hop over the trenches and take the sand over and keep coming back." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I remember I was quickly looking on YouTube because we had a smoko break. I was looking at YouTube like trench hopping. How do you do trench hopping? And I was watching guys put the bucket down, lift themselves over, and I was like, "Oh, cool, I'll do that." So I had to quickly look on YouTube. And then I made a big mistake because they asked me if I know anyone with trucks. And I said, yeah, I've got some relatives with tip trucks. And they're like, "Oh, good. Can you get them in?" So I called my cousins and that. They came down with their trucks the next day. And, that's right. And then they told the agency, they asked me if why don't I just work for them directly? And I was like, why not? I'll just come work for you guys. So I remember it was a Monday. So on Friday we finished. On Monday I came to work in my machine, on my 20. My cousins came with their tip trucks and we're working, taking loads away. And one of the plant hire reps turned up and he said, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just working." And he goes, "Are you scheduled to work? Like, we haven't got you scheduled in." And I said, No, I'm working for the customer." And he goes, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Oh, no, I'm working for the customer now. They asked me if I want to come across." And he goes, "You can't do that." And I was like, "Why? What's wrong with that?" And then he goes, "Hang on, who's these trucks?" And I said, "Oh, they're my relatives." And he said, Are they through the plant hire? I said, no, I got them direct. And he goes, you can't do that. And then he got really upset with me, and we had a bit of a discussion, and he walked off. So then I got a phone call from one of the managers or senior managers of the agency, and he was explaining the situation. He said, you can't do that. You can't. That's like taking work off us. Like, you're supposed to notify us before you keep working for them, or you can't just go across to them. So I didn't understand that process at the start, and still didn't realize what the mistake I actually made. And then what happened was, whenever I called that agency after that, I reckon it was for like a year, they never gave me any work again. They must have blacklisted me and had me. So every time I'd ring up and say, I've got a machine free, and they'd be like, oh, yeah, no, we've got some work for you. And then they'd say, well, we'll just put you on hold for a minute. And then they'd come back and go, oh, look, no, all the jobs are taken. No, we've got nothing left. So they must have had some notes or something on there. So, and it took like over a year before they started like letting me or giving me work again. And I think that only happened because a lot of the people that knew me already left that company, and new people came in, and maybe they didn't see those notes. I don't know, or it wasn't known anymore. So it was sort of faded out. And then they started calling me for jobs. And then eventually I think it got forgotten. But I made a big mistake at the start because I went direct with a customer that the agency actually gave me. So there's a bit of a tip for you guys. Just be very, very wary of that. You don't take any of your agency's customers. What else was there? Any other questions, guys? I've been speaking. We had another one here. Let me just go back. Hang on, where did that go? Here we go. So Daniel Carswell is asking, coming from regional places, can you explain these bigger hire companies and how they work? Okay. So they may not have them in regional. I'm not sure. I know they cover a lot of area. No, the plant hire agencies are basically like an agency similar to an employment agency, but basically they're hiring you with a machine. So basically they look for work. They'll have a customer base, and they'll have you on a list with what machinery you have. And then if the customer needs a certain machine, they'll call you up and say, hey, we found some work for your machine. Go to this job. It's going to be here. This is where you're going to get paid. And then you go there, and then you just put in your timesheet saying at the end of the week, I've worked so many hours for this customer. Then the agency will charge that customer for your time there, and then you'll get a cut out of that. So they'll take like a percentage for finding the work for you. And then, you basically then get paid by the agency. So that's how it's supposed to work. But sometimes people will go behind the agency's back, form a bit of a relationship with the customer, and then not tell the agency that they're still working for them, and then just get paid directly. And then what happens is that, percentage or 15% or 10% that they usually take becomes yours. So I suppose there's a bit of an argument there. Is it worth losing an agency that can give you work more regular for that 10% that you're going to get extra? I don't know. And then who's to say that customer will keep calling you? You might have a falling out with them or something, or they don't have any more work. And then you've not only lost that customer, but you've lost the agency, and you can't go back to them, So you got to be careful what you choose to do there. So Daniel's saying he hasn't experienced agencies. Yeah, so that's what it basically is. Thank you for joining me, guys, as well. So I'll give a shout out to some of the names. We've got D. Gretsch, we've got Drills and Diggers. So Daniel Carswell has been involved in the chat. Darren also. Who else have we got? John, Blue Mountains, Mickey. And then we've got a perfect thing, GTA Jet. We've got Jacob Stewart, Drills and Diggers, I said that already. Phillips Plant Hire. So there's a fair few people on. I can't name them all, sorry. But it's good to see a lot of people on here. So good chat, guys. Very, very good chat. What else was there? So is there anything else that you guys want to talk about? Or do you want to keep hearing stories? I've got plenty of those, plenty of stories. Because it's very, very difficult at the start. Here we go. So Darren Jen is saying he might be looking and get a command set up for his digger. That way, when he drills holes, he gets the depth. Yeah, that's good. If you can afford it, definitely do it, man. I reckon GPS, machine control, and that's all the way to go. That's the future. I think it's going to be almost like expected to be on our machines, almost like tilt hitches, like what we were talking about earlier. I think eventually everyone's just going to be expected to have GPS on their machines, and a lot of them will come out with stuff. So I know a lot of them already have 2D and stuff like that on there. So I think it's only just going to get more and more expected and more popular. So yeah, that's good. Why not? Why not? So if you see the guys at Command, you can go to some of my videos and you can have a look at all their contact details on there as well. So the guys from Command, I got to know them pretty well. Nice guys. So Daniel Castwell saying he just signed docs for Topcon Mobile on his 6-tonner and posi blade. Pretty keen to try it out. That's good. Very, very good. I remember a mate of mine on Grade Civil was one of the first sort of guys I knew that was pushing GPS and grader blades and that on his posi track. And then I tried to sort of look into it and spoke to a lot of customers, and they were really against it. They sort of shunned it. They're like, oh, no, it's a waste of time, this and that. And now it's becoming very, very popular. So having blades on your posi tracks, and I reckon would be a really good idea. And then, yeah, as for GPS and that on your machines, I think it's just becoming more and more common. Yeah, so it's good. It's good to see that people are heading that way. Third Pirate, hello again. Hello. So yeah, no, really good to have everyone on board and good discussion as well. So yeah, I think my fear and the reasons I never went to GPS is I just felt like for the cost of installing it and then not being paid for it all the time, it was just like, I don't know, I couldn't justify it. I didn't have enough work to justify having GPS all the time, you know. So I know a lot of companies won't pay you that extra rate unless you're utilizing it. And then my fear was like, what if they don't let me use it for a few weeks, and yet I've got this thing in a subscription? So you also have to have a subscription. And I was like, what if I spend all this money and then they tell me we don't need GPS for the next few weeks, or you know they give you the bullet and then you don't get work for it for ages. So that was my fear. So Daniel is saying, yeah, a lot of grader drivers talk down on the posi tracks with grader blades. And I think that might be a bit of a fear factor, I suppose. Maybe they're worried about losing the work, you know, because a lot of times if you think about it, my argument when I was looking at getting one was you've got a posi track that can do what a grader can do, but then you can take the blade off and do what a posi track does. So, you know, I mean, if you're grading a road, maybe it won't be as quick as a grader, but we can with a posi track blade, you can grade the road, then you can take the blade off, you can move all the excess material, you can go and do all the little end bits where the grader can't get to. Then you can go and do other jobs with the same machine. So then you can go and cut, do footpaths and do other things. You can put a broom on and sweep things, whereas the grader can just do that one thing. So it might be just that. A bit of a fear thing from the grader operators. Waikato Digger, here we go. We've got another one. When quoting, I think there should be a deposit put down depending of size and complexity. I think that is a good point. I think when you're quoting, a customer should be putting a deposit down. So I suppose it's two things. One, you've got hourly hire jobs, and then you've got quoted jobs. On hourly hire jobs, I suppose it's hard for the customers to give you anything up front because they don't know how long you're going to be there for. You could probably ask for maybe like a part payment up front. But when you quote, yeah, definitely I think it'd be good to ask for some type of deposit. So often what I do is I say on the day when I arrive, if I quote a job, I'll say at the end of my first day, you need to give me so much. And then depending on how long the project is for, then I'll say midway through, you pay me another amount. At the end, you pay this much. So I always give them something to work with. So I won't tell them, give it to me all, give me a deposit up front. I'll actually say, give it to me at the end of the first day. So that way they can see I've actually turned up, I've done some work, and then give me some money, and then that way, like it's sort of fair for both. So that's how I used to tackle that. I used to say, give me the deposit at the end of the first day. So if I'm digging the basement out, I'll say once my machines are all on site and we start digging, and after that first bucket has hit the ground, at the end of that day we need to have 10% or something to start with, and then halfway through we're going to have the other amount. So that way they're not skeptical, thinking, well, if we give you something and you don't turn up, they're not going to be fearful of that happening. So that's a good point. Very, very good point. What else do we have? Somebody else said something. Let me just scroll back. Oh, well, that was about the graders, the command system. So Darren is saying command. Yeah, he's got command on his 14-ton Cabelco. Oh, very good. Very, very good. So Daniel Castwell saying that's exactly what builders do, so why should we be any different? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, true. Well, I suppose, builders will ask for money up front. So before they even do anything, they'll say they want 10%. And that is the problem I used to find with residential. You have to be very, very careful, because a lot of builders rely on that 10% or 20% deposit from the customer to get all the start of the job done up until the first progress payment. So I used to always laugh and say, I'm the first guy on site. I come and do a site cut, and often they'll say to me after I've done the site cut, oh, we can't afford to pay you until we get the concrete done. We need the progress payment to pay you. And then I always say, well, this is the start of the process and you're already struggling to pay me, and you're already struggling to pay trades. What's going to happen to all the guys that come after me? So all the other trades, like if you can't pay me at the start, that's going to be an issue for everyone afterwards. And you know what I mean? So I don't know how some of these builders operate. And I think that's why a lot of them go under, because they rely on that first 10% to get, things moving, and then they don't have enough for everyone, or they'll take on, 20 projects and not really have the funds to cover all those projects. So we come in and we're doing the site cuts and doing all the basics at the start, and they can't even pay us. So yeah, I do. I often wonder how that really works, And then, the other thing I suppose is, who believes we should get some form of money for quoting? Somebody I know, one of my mates does retaining walls, and he's saying what he does now, because he wastes a lot of time quoting, is he'll tell customers, I'll come and quote the job, but it's going to cost you $100. And then they say, oh, but what if you don't get the job, this and that? And he says, look, I will charge you $100. If I get the job, that $100 will come off the price that I'll quote you for the job. So, that $100 will be included. And that also sort of sways the customers a bit to him. But I don't know. I imagine I tried that a couple of times, and a lot of customers just told me, don't worry about it. They don't want to pay, because everyone else just comes out and does it for free. Everyone else quotes for free. So I didn't find that it helped me, because a lot of my customers just said that, nobody else charges. Maybe we should all be starting to do that. So, get some sort of money for your time quoting. Because I know when I used to quote like bigger jobs like basements or big site cuts with multi-level, like units on there and stuff, that takes a while. You got to ring around, you got to ring tips and find out what the prices are, what's going on. Look at the soil tests, try and work out the quantity coming out, what the machine costs will be. There's a fair bit in there, So by the time you do all that, then the customer turns around and says, oh no, we've decided to go with someone else. You've just spent half a day doing all that, if not a whole day. So sometimes I wonder whether they should actually, we should be charging to do quotes. What do you guys think? What does everyone else think? The angry operator, hello, he's joined us. So, guys, thank you for joining. It's really, really good to have so many people on. The angry operator, if you're listening, we were just talking about, why we can't ask for deposits up front before we start jobs. Why I was actually just saying why can't we charge to actually come and do a quote for people, especially for bigger jobs. Pricing up quotes and that, we should be getting something. Like I was saying, a mate of mine does retaining walls. Now what he does is he tells them that he'll tell the customer, if I get the job, if I charge you $100 to do the quote, that $100 will be included in the final price, so that way they feel a bit more at ease. And if he doesn't get the job, well, then it's $100. At least he hasn't, wasted his time. But I hate when you do spend all this time and then they come and say, oh no, I've decided to go with someone else. And then if you do ask them, which is another point, always make sure you ask what made them choose the other person over you. And a lot of times it was for something like minimal, like $200 less, or the fact that they can start a bit earlier, or I don't know, like just weird answers. So I think charging for quotes, especially bigger ones, is not unreasonable. Even some big civil projects, like I've had to quote them. By the time I ring all the pipe suppliers, try and find all the civil, for pits, ringing up all the civil places, getting pit prices, and you do all this work, and then they turn around and say, oh no, you just didn't get the job. It's like I've just spent all this time doing that, running around, wasted other people's time, and then nothing comes out of it. And then the other thing, angry operator, we also discussed, like why do we have to wait, 2 weeks, 30 days, 45 days? Why do we have to wait so long to get paid? Why can't we just get paid after 7 days? Oh, the angry operator, always got good comments. I've got to be careful with that one. But he's just saying, basically, it's all the people undercutting each other, even when there's no money in it. And that is true. Sometimes I've quoted jobs, and when the customer tells me that someone's quoted it at like half my price, I'll often wonder, like, how's this person even making any money on this? I did a quote not long ago, and I quoted it. I priced up the material as if I was going to pay tip fees on all of it, but I knew that some of it we could probably get some money back for it, like get a bit of a rebate. But you can't rely on that. So what if at that time when I do the project, I can't get the rebate, or nobody wants the material? So you've got to price it up, with the notion that you might have to pay for that material to go. And then someone came in and undercut me by half, and I was like, this guy is totally relying on getting rebates on all the material. And I was thinking, if he doesn't get rebates on it, or something happens, or the material turns to slop, or they find other stuff in there, he's going to be stuffed. I don't know how he's going to make any money, even with that half of my quoted price. It's probably barely break even. So I don't know. I don't know how people do it. So angry operator's making some comments, guys. So he's saying, because they hold the money, basements, they hold money till it's out of the ground 2 levels. Yes. The bank pays them a progress payment. Once they're out of the ground, your money should get paid, and funds for the job till progress is paid by the bank once the parking part of basement work is done. Yeah, and you're right. So they do, and this is what I said a bit earlier, maybe before you came on. I think a lot of builders rely on that first deposit from their customer who they're building for, to sort of cover them for the first part, but then they don't probably allow enough. So then we come in and do all this work, and they say we can't pay you because we haven't got our progress for the second part, which is usually the concreting, and then we're stuck and waiting for them to get paid before they can pay us. So yeah, I think a lot of builders make that mistake. So Daniel's saying, or quoting on said prices, then a couple of months later the job starts and the dump prices and whatnot have gone up higher. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so everything increases too. So, and that's the other thing, like they say, we're not ready to go ahead. Then they call you like 6 months later and say, yeah, we want to start now. And then you think, then you have to tell them, like, hang on, I can't do that same price. Things have changed. And that's why in your terms, when you do your quotes, always make sure you put that it's only valid for 30 days or 2 weeks, whatever, because then that price can change after that. Yeah, and an angry operator agreeing. You're saying, yeah, it's a bad way to go about it, but yeah, that's how it works. So unfortunately, that's what happens. And we're saying, like, if you go to Kmart or a service station and you buy something, you got to pay for it immediately. You can't just walk out and say, oh, I'll pay you in 60 days or I'll pay you in 2 weeks. You got to pay immediately. And it's a shame that we can't have the same, as subbies, we can't have the same terms. you know. So I've got another 5 minutes, I believe. So does anybody have anything else they want to bring up? Whether it's something that we spoke about earlier or a new topic or a new question, happy to try and answer some of those questions or, start a discussion. If we haven't, I can go through some of the new listings. Okay, so before we go any further, so let me go through some of the new listings. We've had a few this week. So Earthworks Hub. So if you don't know what it is, so not only is Earthworks Hub a podcast channel and then I do these live sessions, but also it's a business directory. So it's a directory for all the earthworks industry in Australia. So if you have a business in earthworks, you can list it on the Earthworks Hub directory. And then if someone needs your services, they'll find you on there. So that includes everything to do with earthworks and more. Like I've got scaffolding in there. I've got a whole range of other things. We've got surveyors, concreters, form workers, excavators, all types of machinery, diesel mechanics, everything you can think of that has anything to do with earthworks. So this week we have had 1-800 hose van in Adelaide. So 1-800 hose van. So if you need some urgent hydraulics hoses or repairs to any of your machines, 1-800 hose van in Adelaide has listed. Spartan Machinery put their Queensland branch on now. Earthworks Geelong, Earthforce Excavations. We've got R&B Earth Moving, and then Kensington. Kensington I said last week. So yeah, there's a few extra ones on there. So definitely use these guys. If you need any like trade or service, go on to Earthworks Hub. Try and use the guys that we've got listed on there so we can all help each other out, yeah? This is basically the yellow pages for earthworks. So if you need any type of service or trade or a contractor for something, if you want to rent machines or if you want to buy machines, go on the Earthworks Hub website and you can have a look through the listings and you can see everyone on there. So all my sponsors are on there. You can buy merch. If you want to support Earthworks Hub, go to the merch store and buy yourselves t-shirts, hoodies. I'm having some hats coming on very shortly. And I'll maybe even have to look at beanies. I said that last time. I haven't had a chance. But make sure you go on there. So we've got a few other things. So Waikato Digger saying, grease, what are your thoughts of types of grease you use? Example, moly grease or EP2. You know what? I've had all different versions. I've had these tacky ones, the red color ones, blue, black. I've had moly, EP2. The moly ones seem to be the best. So I went through a stage where I was just buying Valvoline ones with moly. They were like a black. Oops. I had to verify again. So the moly one was probably the best one, I reckon. I had this red tack. The red tack grease was really good. Especially when you have like an orange or a red machine. It doesn't like stand out so much. But yeah, I'm not like swayed by one or the other. Like I just grab whatever. Now what I do is I just go in and grab whatever they've got. So I'll just say, give me a box of grease and then whatever they give me. So, thanks for joining Earthforce as well, Elite Fitting Services. Yeah, so I don't have a preference, but I do know that when I was using the moly grease, for some reason it was just, I don't know, just it was better for the machine and wasn't as messy. Maybe it's a bit more tacky and holds together more when it gets hot. I'm not sure. Daniel Carswell saying, I've had a couple of superintendents offer higher rates for combo with machine control, so it'll be good. Yeah, well, that's right. If you do have, if you have machine control, they should be paying you more for starters. So make sure you are getting extra rate for that. And then he's saying for a bit until people start doing it for nothing more. Yeah, well, that is the other thing. A lot of people might start just not charging for having machine control, which is going to be hard because it's not a cheap task getting it installed, and then also you've got your ongoing costs. So I don't know, if we're not charging for it, then it might be an issue. And it's the same as like we we're talking about tilt hitches and stuff. You know, a lot of people don't charge any extra on their hourly rate, but they've just spent 15 grand on the tilt hitch. And I think you should be entitled to charge a bit extra. It doesn't have to be heaps, but you should be able to charge a bit more because one, you're going to be a lot more efficient. Two, you got to cover the cost of that attachment. And then three, all the maintenance on it, because it does put a little bit more wear and tear on your machine. You know, it makes it a bit heavier. And you know, when you're using hammers and things, you also are losing life on that attachment. So yeah. All right. So that was the listings I just went through. Good questions. Let's see what else I was going to talk about here. The merch, I said, the website, new listings, yes. And I think the last thing I will, so apart from just notifying everyone again that Earthworks Hub has a business directory, make sure you guys use that directory, is just to make sure you go onto my YouTube, go onto my TikTok, my Facebook, the Instagram, and make sure that you subscribe, like, and follow all those social on all those apps. And I hope that you guys are enjoying these sessions. If you've got any feedback, make sure that you hit me up. If you want me to talk about a certain topic, if you want to make a video on something, just give me some suggestions and I'm happy to do it. If you want to be a guest on the show, also let me know. And also, what else is, look out for a few more podcasts coming out with guests. So I've got a few new ones coming up. And like I said the other day, I've got a couple that I want to do. One is on mental health. I've been talking to Are You Okay about that, but they're a bit slow at getting back to me, so I might have to move and do it myself or talk to maybe Beyond Blue or someone else. What else was there? If you want me to review a product, anything like that, let me know. I'm happy to try and do as much as I can. I hope you guys are enjoying my posts. Keep listening to my podcast, and thank you to everyone for joining me on these live sessions. And don't forget, I am posting these up on my social platforms, so you can go to YouTube or Spotify and re-listen to this in case you had to leave or miss something. Once again, thanks to all my sponsors, and share the shit out of this. I want to spread the word to everyone. All right, guys, have a good rest of the weekend, whatever's left, and enjoy your week. See you guys.